What's up, everyone? My name is Morsi, and if you're new to this channel, I encourage others to experience the joy of being. To remind you that we have this ability, we have the awareness to live with effortless ease, to sit back and realize that we can choose the simplest choice. We can make a simple next step. Life doesn't need to be complicated unless we make it so, and it happens. It happens with the mind. I've been gone for a while, and it feels good to be back. It feels like I took this long nap and I'm awake and I'm recharged. I'm ready. I recognized when I sat back and I reflected that I needed some time to experience the joy of being on a much deeper level. And I knew if I gave myself that space, I'd come back even better. I'd come back to a point where I could challenge myself and be able to share in a way where I can plant seeds and encourage you all to trust yourself above all else, as do I. To be more of yourself, authentically. Recognize fear within you. Recognize when it's time to step back and bring yourself back to presence. That's my goal, that's my intention, because it's so foundational for inner peace, for having this heightened sense of awareness where you can be in a state of peace no matter the state of the world, no matter what's going on, whether it's today or 5 years, 10 years from now. And coming back, what really motivated me was to talk to you all about uncertainty. Because that's what I feel. Uncertainty has been an amazing teacher for me. So much so that I know I learned the most. I become a much better individual due to uncertainty. An individual who will sit back and be truthful and honest with myself through reflection, challenging my thoughts, challenging my beliefs, challenging what I once perceived is uncertainty. And I want to talk about this with you all. I want to speak about 3 very specific words. Being uncomfortable with these very specific words. It's a phrase. The phrase, I don't know. I don't know. I want to kind of delve into this feeling of I don't know within us as an individual, and then in the outside world. How we're being influenced by our outside world, and they'll come together, but I'm going to do my best to kind of separate them and see where we go from there. When we come to a place in our life where we don't know what to do next, maybe we're in a job or just in this environment where we're not excited. My thing to myself is, if it doesn't excite you, then don't do it. We got one life to live. This world isn't as real as we think it is, right? We have the ability to create our own reality. So if you get in a place where you're just like, I'm unhappy, I'm not at peace, this doesn't bring me joy and excitement, you've got to sit back and say, I don't know. Now, 2 things can happen with I don't know, right? We can say I don't know, but yet still feel this fear because we're not certain, because we don't know what's going to come next, so we're afraid, unaware of the fact that our mind, our subconscious, it has the ability to materialize those things that we create in our mind into form and into circumstance in this outside world. We're unaware of that. We forget in moments. Sometimes it doesn't come quick enough. So we're like, is this the present moment doesn't look like what we want, so we freak out. And then we have the other option where you don't know, we don't know, but we're okay with it. And that's where I want us to start walking into that direction and start realizing that that is where you want to be. You want to be okay with not knowing. For me, I don't know has given me the greatest, most transformative moments of my life. Like I said, uncertainty has been my greatest teacher. It's why I'm here now. Uncertainty is the reason why I said, you know what, you need a break. If you want to do good for yourself and if your intention is to help others, you gotta give yourself a break. I was uncertain of what was gonna happen next, but I said, I gotta follow what I'm feeling. And I was okay with it. I was okay with whatever would happen. I would face it. If there was something I was resisting, I'd say, you know what? I'm just gonna face it, whatever. That's the mentality that's so important with not knowing and being okay with it. That you have this trust that you are co-creating with life. And that whatever challenge is brought in front of you, you got it. And most times when you have that security to say, whatever comes in front of me, I got it, I'm gonna be present with it, and I'm going to transcend it. When you have that, the circumstance in which you are challenged with is not even as bad as you think. You flow with it through effortless ease. One thing that's very common in our spiritual awakening process is questioning who we are at our core. We might ask people, like an actual person, another individual, right? Who are we at our core? And we'll talk about these things, right? In a very general sense, in as much as words can describe. We are human beings. No, we are spiritual beings living a human experience, right? We're formless, we're awareness. So many words that try to get the mind to understand it. But yet and still, may not be enough. You might sit back and be like, well, what am I? If I'm not my thoughts, if I'm not my beliefs, if I am not the things that I acquire, the accomplishments and everything that I achieve, if I'm none of those, then what am I? So now we're in this place of, I don't know. You probably go on some other spiritual YouTuber's channel. You go read a spiritual teacher's book, but you still don't know. Because the mind isn't giving a space. See, that's what I don't know does. It gives us space to receive. When our mind is clear. When we let go of everything we ever thought we knew. Whenever you find yourself in that place when you're like, what am I then? You're on the track to expanding your awareness. You're on that path to shifting your consciousness. It does take courage. It does take courage to question what you've always thought and you always thought you knew. It does take a bit of vulnerability, but that's how we grow. That's how we shift. If you think in your life, you've grown in places of vulnerability. Many times places where you had no idea what was gonna come next. Uncertainty. Now when we talk about I don't know within the outside world, I like to challenge myself because there's so many ideas floating around, so much knowledge. There are people who are specialists in their own area, who's passionate about speaking what they talk about, what they share. From areas of health and diet, to lifestyle, to politics, to education and finances, whatever it is, whoever you might go to, right? To learn from everyone. And even in those specific areas, people have different perspectives. There's so much information. See, the reason why I have this passion for sharing ideas and really helping others in terms of presence, helping others in terms of thoughts and beliefs, is because I can tend to be an overthinker. In my mind, it always likes to be stimulated with new things. And I realize that in this age of technology and all this knowledge, there's so many opinions where you have to sit back and you have to say, yo, I don't even know. I don't even know now. There's so much. And it takes courage to say, I don't know, in this world where you're expected to know in many cases. And I want to explain too a little more. For me, I like to differentiate these two words: beliefs and a mental position. A mental position is when I just have this place where I'm at, where I could compare this idea to what I am receiving, the information that I'm receiving. But I'm aware that I'm able to rethink this position and maybe shift to another position to receive another perspective. I'm not stuck on it. I don't completely believe it, but I'm there. I like to remind myself to be neither a believer nor non-believer. Because when you're in that state, in that state of awareness, you're able to shift to a state of consciousness where you're in a state of peace, no matter the state of the world, where you're open, but you still have boundaries. Right? This is where I say I hold mental positions, but I don't believe anything and I don't not believe anything. But then you have a belief, and your beliefs are your convictions. They're what you identify with. When someone says something that opposes your belief, it feels almost like an attack on you personally. It feels like they're the enemy. It reinforces this you versus me mentality. It takes self-reflection and self-awareness to catch that. I catch this as much as I can. Anytime I'm like, am I holding on to this as a belief? If I am, let me step back and let me rethink. Once again, we're putting ourselves in that place of vulnerability by not knowing, that place of uncertainty by not knowing, but this is where we transform. This is where life leads us to those moments where we've been asking for. You're here because you want to ascend on your spiritual awakening process. It's not always pretty. I think about that meme where it's like, what you think spiritual awakening is and what it actually is. It does mean that you should sit back and consider whatever belief you feel you're so identified with. You should question that. Even if it's something you held since you were younger, your entire life, question it. And you'll realize the more you let go of that, the freer you feel. You set yourself free. You give yourself enough spaciousness to be still and to receive. Every day, I'm learning about what I don't know. I admit to myself, I say, you know what? I've learned so much, but what I'm excited about is the fact that there's so much I don't know. And I'm not gonna know everything in a lifetime, but it's fun to learn. It's fun to listen to perspectives without feeling defensive. That's fun. See, the defensiveness is what stops us. It's what stops us from building community. It's what gets in the way of our empathy. One thing that empathy taught me is that when you empathize with someone who's villainized, then you get labeled a villain too, or naive at the very least. And at first it was tough, but then I said, you know what? I'm at a state of peace, and whatever that person thinks of me, it's a story they placed onto me. If there's one thing I know is that if we want to get the full story to something, or if we want to find a new perspective, it's there. So if someone misunderstands me for whatever reason it might be, it's their unconscious choice. And that's not my responsibility. That's not my problem. It's important that you set boundaries for these states of awareness so you give yourself space to be authentically yourself. These things take time, they do. But just know that you're not alone. The universe is working with you. However you want to grow within, however you want to transform within, that could be you. In fact, it's already you. Whatever you want, it's already you. It really just takes transforming these beliefs, these ideas, being less attached to them so you can bring in room for what it is you actually want. Once again, I'm grateful for your time, grateful for life. Live in a state of gratitude. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. If you have a question, go ahead and ask. And what I'll do is answer that question in my next video. My name is Morsi. Until next time.